when I began to get in the best shape of my life, I was accustomed to then telling myself, every time I'm training, I get stronger. And the people I know and love get stronger. Every time I go to the gym, I love myself more, and people around me love themselves more. I started saying different things as this behavior was going on to anchor this behavior in a different way. And what happened is I got in better shape. Instead of becoming more arrogant or egotistical or losing the love of my family, I became more compassionate and understanding and humble, because sometimes moving through change can bring up all of the reasons why you didn't want to begin with, which could be painful. Hey everybody, Jeff here. Before we get started, if you're getting value from the podcast, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For those of you listening on podcast apps, don't forget to rate and review. Your support really helps the show reach more people, and for that, I am truly grateful. Now let's dive in.
Welcome to The Point with Jeff Spikes, the show about achieving goals, embracing growth, and finding your true path. And now, here's your host, Jeff Spikes.
Hello and welcome to The Point. This is your host, Jeff Spikes, and it is exciting. 2025 is here. You are in a new quarter of a century. Not just a new year, but an entire quarter of a century has just been put behind you in that rearview mirror. You know, an analogy came up the other day. If you look in your rearview mirrors, they are meant to cover many angles from multiple locations. We have side view mirrors, rear view mirrors. They're all looking behind us. Sometimes there's different types of mirrors, so you can see different distances. And, you know, all that's meant to give us a very specific view. What you can learn from that is that it's very specific in how you want to look into the past and what you want to pull from it. Positive memories, lessons from challenges, and what you want to move forward with is a windshield. Much larger surface, much bigger area, much greater view. Your peripheral looking forward opens much bigger than anything that you can see behind you. So it's a privilege to be able to be in 2025 and moving forward, and to have the opportunities in front of you that you have. If you've been watching this show for any period of time, you're aware and you're moving forward with this idea of starting something as it's finishing. So as you moved out of the last year, you were preparing for the next year, and now you're here. A couple things you might want to look out for and pay attention to is if you had planned to start things and move into new, and a lot of the prep work was being done, make sure you start. Starting is sometimes difficult because perfection can get in the way. Starting can be difficult if there's other delays of possibilities and potential for better things, like a newer technology or something came out different that you'd like to try. And the idea is just start what you're intending to do. The way to do this is to keep the value of starting higher than all the other values. If you don't start, you can't get moving, and then you can't make improvements. And you need a baseline. You want a baseline to grow from. This came up recently in a couple of different ways. It came up in my company. It came up in some of my clients' companies, where there seems to be a deadline to want to do something, but as it gets closer, more people realize what's happening and want to have input, or ideas come up. They seem like good ideas, so a delay happens, and the only way to get moving forward is to move forward. So, new year, new ideas. You've been preparing them for a long time. Anchor in the standard and the value that starting is the most important thing that you can do above quality and above other things. Now, this show is a good example of this. We had a client recently go back and watch the very first couple of shows that took place of The Point, and also watched and looked at the newer shows, and not only just watched the show. but really looked at all of the detail around the show and looked at what all the notes looked like underneath it, and what the announcements looked like, and what the posts looked like to promote the show. And all of this was, the value was to start. Now, some of you here are friends, right? So if you're friends and you were there when that happened, I remember, that you were not that happy with me that I didn't invite you to the very first set, or that I couldn't schedule it at a time when you could definitely be there. And I love you and thank you for all the support and the encouragement that you give me over the years. But we've talked about this, and we've learned to agree since the show has started that starting is sometimes the greatest value you can ever have. And getting the best you can done and out there so that you can then improve is critical. So 2025, here you are. Another thing that you might be aware of is that there's something that you really want to do that you hadn't considered. One of the greatest things about forward movement and success is once you start feeling that, and if you've been watching this show and you participated in all of our offerings, you really are at a place where you were able to relax and live in the moment through the holidays and not really worry about the past or the future. And you were able to breathe and rest and relax and love the people that you were with, and really be present with all the people you know and love in the emotions and get to know them better. And it was a nice holiday. Kind of a strange couple of days there, the way that the holidays fit in the middle of the week, with Christmas and Hanukkah being the day after, and then New Year's. It seemed like it was a weekend every other day, and it was challenging to get a lot done. But at the end of the day, now we're hitting the new year, and all of that's over. And you might find that, back to this idea that what happens when you're successful, you're able to take a rest, and you're moving from that past and leaned into what you don't want, and you're clear on what you want, and you're moving towards it. So you have a full, well-rounded sense of motivation. What you find is more room and space to get more done. Oftentimes we find when we start designing strengths with a team or a company that we get one quarter into it, sometimes even faster than that. We get into that first month, and goals that were taken off the table, right, goals that were removed because it didn't look like they'd be able to happen, get put back on the list of things that we believe that can be done. So you can, when you're moving forward in that powerful way, you might find room. So you may still want to squeeze in something like a New Year's resolution, and that's perfectly okay. Just because the standards of New Year's resolutions, or the numbers, right? The statistics. That's the word I was looking for. Just because the stats say that X amount of percent, which is most New Year's resolutions, don't last and don't get stuck to, doesn't mean you can't make one, or you can't have something like it, a new goal come up as the new year starts that says, man, I need to add this to it. It's still within the flow of what you're doing. So the purpose of noticing the lack of statistics supporting that New Year's resolutions are successful is the trigger and the reason to go back and plan and act differently, so that we're not always allowing something to end before we start something new. So that's working. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening. So in the last year, we named our highest, most engaged offering, Quantum Strengths. And the idea being that designing strengths scratches the surface as you're moving through the physical work and the physical boundaries and understanding of what needs to happen with change. And then we get into the mental work in designing strengths. We gain awareness from what we're doing and how we're interacting with the world. That's what and you get to gain in a lot of awareness there. And then you get layered onto it the mental work before we get to that quantum field and start to understand all of the resources. Now, if that can, if you haven't been here, if you're new here and that confuses you, hang on and hang in there, because it gets exciting. And when you do understand, which you will soon, if you don't already, it will knock your socks off what the possibilities are and what can happen. And it's really just about perspective. You might be doing a lot of the things already as well as you can, and just not be aware of how much easier, faster, or better, or stronger that you could be, how much more capacity you could potentially have. And a lot of that is wrapped around all of your belief systems and how you have the world framed. So that's where the mental work comes in, is reframing a lot of the thought processes and beliefs, so that something new can be considered that hasn't yet been considered. And so we've been rolling this past year. We changed the name of our largest offer, which is a very exclusive offer that we put the fewest people through, and it's often done highly confidentially. We're working on helping people access that in a better way that makes it more accessible, right? So there was a goal and a dream and an idea of that becoming more accessible to you, so that a lot of the secrets of the universe that are not that accessible become more accessible. We also found that in the designing process, working through a lot of that mental work and looking at the most innate, beautiful, amazing part of you and your offers and your programs, if you're in a service business or you're a coach and you're getting the word out there of what you do and growing your company, growing your offers, then we've learned, and we've known this over the years, but it really came into fruition and was productive for clients, that their offer and everything came out in a way. And imagine walking through a process where you're going through a transformation and really beginning to learn how to speak well of yourself, how to confidently, clearly understand and communicate to others exactly who you are, how you show up in a powerful way, what it is to be valued and sacred about you, that is important to hold back and only share when valued by who's receiving it. Moving out of the zone of thinking of all your greatness in your mind, all of that, all of the things the value that you deliver, and instead really clearly understanding what value is received by those that you're serving. And to the point where it's such a visceral feeling and such a clear picture, and it's so exciting, and there's this amazing open feeling of wanting to get the word out, that you feel an intense amount of responsibility to share who you are with others, to get the word out, whether it's on social media or through email campaigns or how you talk to people, when you meet them, or even how you reach out to people that you've known over the years and that you care about, whether you've lost touch with them or you're in touch with them every day, it becomes a responsibility, like this fire burns, that you need to get your message out and make sure people know what it is that you do so well, because somebody's sitting there waiting, desiring, yearning to learn what you have to teach, learning to absorb what you have to share and walk through the change or the improvement or the awareness that you deliver. They're just waiting. Maybe they're waiting for that thing that you create for them in their environment. I'm noticing this trend of people really using more and more external anchors and designing our external environment while you're designing your internal environment, which is a beautiful way of also creating anchors that remind us of where you're going and where you want to go. So where you're going and how you want to go there, and your values and beliefs, by creating the external environment, right? You're also then anchoring and creating those things to support you in your internal environment and maintaining that and holding it together. So working with clients that are doing this, it naturally came out, and that fire was in there, and we rolled out the marketing agency, that Upwill that we have today. So in that whole process, we're starting the year, and so I'm getting these texts because we're valuing starting over anything else, and we're noticing the struggles. So one of the things that you might not be aware of, a quick personal story, I used to think that if I got in extremely good physical shape, that would make me certain things, that I would then become too egotistical or think too highly of myself or something else. I also had some underlying fears that my family wouldn't love me anymore if I wasn't overweight. I grew up being said, that I was loved more if I ate more. And so that's just one story of mine of how that worked for me. So there was immediate resistance to me wanting to be in the best shape of my life and be super fit. Well, as working through that is, was a reason not to start. And it was at the end of it, what I thought was going to happen, right? What I thought was going to happen of this whole idea being that, because there's so much going on in my mind right now, it's just spinning. So the idea of this, the point is that when you reach out, and in this situation, when I began to get in the best shape of my life, and when I began to, and I was accustomed to then telling myself, every time I'm training, I get stronger, and the people I know and love get stronger. Every time I go to the gym, I love myself more, and people around me love themselves more. I'd started saying different things as this behavior was going on to anchor this behavior in a different way. And what happened is, as I got in better shape, instead of becoming more arrogant or egotistical or losing the love of my family, I became more compassionate and understanding and humbled to the point of feeling emotional, thinking of myself and others and people I knew today that I thought, man, I think I understand why they're not moving forward with certain change in their life, because sometimes moving through change can bring up all of the reasons why you didn't want to begin with, which could be painful. So when you're looking to change and you find some type of embarrassment, shame, guilt, fear, it's really important to clear those emotions. If you, as you notice, the less resourceful emotions, it's really important to clear. And sometimes that's a great reason for a coach. As a coach, I've also sometimes helped people find a solid process, psychological or therapeutic process to walk through to help them as well. And we've partnered. There's also been a lot of partnership between coaches and therapists to do that. And the idea is that you can access any of the resources out there. The critical thing is for you to stay in the ownership seat of your life and maintain your autonomy. And some people I know don't want to do therapy, don't like therapy, and necessarily don't appreciate therapists because they're afraid they're going to lose their autonomy and be told that what they have to do if they're going to work with them. And a lot of those are not actually true. You can stay in the ownership seat of your life and request assistance from professionals that know what they're doing and can really help you move forward in whatever capacity that is. And when you're in that zone of knowing where you're going and absolutely being determined to get there, it becomes pretty easy to, or simple to, and a fast decision, right? Fast decisions are great to do what is needed to move to where you want to go. So whatever it takes to clear those unresourceful emotions, you do it. So if a New Year's resolution pops up right now, jump after it, run at it, make some decisions, do some awareness, look in the mirror and discover what it is you want to accomplish, and really more than anything, why, and go ahead and run after that. But really at the end of the day, what about, really looking and finding that zone of passion enough of what you want moving forward to where you have a responsibility to get it done. You're so impassioned around what you're doing and where you're going that you want to get that done. Well, join us in Designing Strengths and join us in the Upwill CRM if you're wanting to grow your company, grow your business. And we'll reach the stars together. It's really exciting and fun to go there. So, what else is happening here? I've got someone left a voice message. I don't think I'll pull that in, but one of my team is really excited and doing a great job of promoting and getting the word out of all of the people that this has been affecting lately. So that's what we're doing in the first week of January, is launching and getting feedback and nurturing the clients that joined us in the last year and making sure that they're getting where they're going and that they're having a smooth transition into the new year. Lots scheduled for the next week. So I think we're going to move the next topics. We're going to move the next topics into next week. Being free in 2025, the importance of creating a vision, and change needs a why. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into these processes. So keep coming to these, keep watching and paying attention, checking out the clips, and we'll be sure to keep you up to speed on everything and get you moving as fast as you can towards what you want. You are beautiful. You are amazing. You have an absolutely innate and wonderful purpose for your life that is special to you and no one else. It's more than 1 in a million unique, just like everyone else. That's the point.
The show about achieving goals.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of The Point with me, Jeff Spikes. Please visit jeffspikes.com for everything you would need to know to engage with me offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Point.